Hello everyone, welcome back to Chapter 1 channel. Today, I'm going to talk about a Korean movie called Shark. Hope you like it. A man named Yoon, the youngest MMA world champion, is on his way home at the start of the story. On his way, his mother calls to inform him that his younger sister will also be returning home after a long time away. Everyone appears to be asleep and the house is dark when Yoon gets home. As he approaches the refrigerator, he discovers his hand is covered in blood. He discovers his sister and mother dead, much to his horror. Yoon is suddenly attacked by a man brandishing a rope, but he overcomes his assailant by fighting back. In a vicious battle, Yoon beats the two other men who attack with knives. Overwhelmed by the loss of his family, he beats the men to death in a fit of rage. Years later, the news spreads about Yoon's actions, and he is sentenced to prison. Meanwhile, at a high school, a brilliant but introverted student named Woo is focused on his studies. A new transfer student, Sok, joins the school. He's a skilled boxer and quickly becomes popular. However, during a break, Sok challenges the school's top bully, defeats him, and takes over as the new leader. Sok recognizes Woo as someone he used to bully in middle school. He starts tormenting Woo again, even targeting Woo's girlfriend when she tries to intervene. Woo begs Sok to stop, but the bullying only gets worse. Reaching his breaking point, Woo lashes out and stabs Sok in the eye with a pen. The story shifts to a courtroom, where Woo is found guilty and sent to prison. In prison, Woo tries to adjust to life behind bars. He befriends a kind-hearted inmate and joins a peaceful, non-violent gang. He learns about 3 dangerous inmates to avoid: a large and powerful man, a quick and cunning man who leads a gang, and Yoon, the MMA champion. One day, during a football game, Woo and his friend are forced to play. Woo's lack of skill annoys the big man, who drags him away angrily. As they pass Yoon, Woo pleads for help. Initially indifferent, Yoon intervenes and convinces the big man to leave Woo alone. However, when the big man tries to fight back, Yoon knocks him out with a single slap. Despite Woo's temporary protection, the large man and his group start to threaten him. Concurrently, Sok pays Woo a visit in prison and makes a promise to murder him after he is released. Woo is terrified and cries out for forgiveness, but Sok abandons him in despair. Woo, overcome with panic, chooses to ask Yoon for assistance. Yoon disregards him when he asks him to train him. Woo keeps trying, but Yoon ignores him day after day. Yoon finally gives up on Woo's desire for vengeance, telling him that it will only result in more suffering and devastation. Woo responds by saying all he wants is to live a peaceful life where no one bothers him. Moved by his words, Yoon changes his mind and tells Woo to return the next day for his first day of training. However, Yoon sets a tough condition: he'll only train Woo if he can complete 100 laps around the track. Woo struggles and loses to Yoon by a wide margin, but he refuses to give up. Even when his body can't take it anymore, he continues running, thinking about Sok and the big man in the prison. Pushing through the pain, he picks up speed but collapses from exhaustion. The following day, Yoon has a meeting with the prison warden. Because of his good behavior, the warden offers Yoon special privileges. Yoon uses this opportunity to request that Woo be moved to his cell, allowing him to focus on training Woo. Woo doesn't even have time to thank him before Yoon orders him to start doing push-ups. Woo struggles, barely able to do one, and fails completely at pull-ups. Woo practices basic exercises every day, including push-ups, pull-ups, punching, kicking, and increasing his food intake to gain strength. As the weeks pass, Woo makes great progress and even exceeds Yoon's expectations. He reads books while training since he is so committed. While praising his tenacity, his friend breaks the bad news that Yoon will be moving to a different prison. This news causes Woo to become distracted while training. Asking how long he intends to hide behind people, Yoon confronts him. Woo is inspired to work even harder by this. One day, Woo's friend is attacked by the big man's gang. Woo steps in courageously and fights them off, forcing them to retreat. The next day, Woo is summoned by the big man. He apologizes for the previous incident, but the big man bullies him again, even punching him. Acting on instinct, Woo dodges the attack and counters. A fight breaks out. Despite his training, Woo is overpowered by the big man's strength and takes a beating. He manages to land some hits, but they don't have much effect. Just as it seems hopeless, Woo's determination reignites. Using his last bit of strength, he repeatedly headbutts the big man, eventually knocking him down. Woo keeps attacking, but Yoon steps in to stop him. Meanwhile, in the city, Sok gets into a fight with a gang. Using his impressive skills, he single-handedly defeats them. His abilities catch the attention of a gang leader, who invites him to join and offers to train him. Sok accepts and becomes part of the gang, working as a bouncer. Wu is stronger, now that he's back in prison. He currently spars with Yun as part of his training. Wu eventually defeats his teacher in one match, despite the fact that he typically loses. Although he is reminded that today is his last day in prison, Yun is pleased of him. They have an emotional departure, and Wu finds it difficult to cope with Yun's absence. A few days later, the crafty short man in the prison chooses to challenge Wu to a fight in order to capitalize on Yun's departure. Wu first objects, but if he prevails, the short guy swears to obey all of Wu's commands. Wu tells the nimble short man that if he wins, the man must stop bullying others. The terms are agreed upon, and the day of the fight arrives. Everyone is waiting for Wu, but he doesn't show up at first. Instead, he receives a visit from Sok, who now threatens him as a gang member. Sok reminds Wu that he's been waiting for the day Wu is free so he can deal with him. Eventually, Wu arrives at the fight. Without exchanging words, the fight begins. The short man fights with speed, resembling a character from the game Tekken, martial law. He delivers multiple fast kicks to Wu, barely giving him a chance to retaliate. Wu then starts using his teacher Yun's MMA fighting style, and it proves effective. But the short man adapts and fights back fiercely. Both men are injured, but Wu eventually manages to trap the short man in a tight hold, forcing the officers to intervene and declare Wu the winner. As promised, the gang leaders honor their word and stop bullying others. Wu and the gang leaders become friends and spend time together. When it's time for Wu to leave, he visits the training area where he learned from Yun. As he's about to leave, Sok is waiting for him. They silently walk to a nearby field to settle their conflict. The fight begins, and Sok, with his experience as both a gangster and athlete, knocks Wu down multiple times. But Wu refuses to quit, getting back up each time. Wu thinks back on Yun's lessons throughout his most trying times. He then throws Sok off balance and knocks him to the ground with a strong spine punch to the eyes. Wu is the winner. Wu pays Yun a visit in prison as the film comes to a close. Yun, who is pleased with his student's development, discusses with him sharks, which are aggressive and constantly on guard, much like the lessons they have both learned. This was the movie named Shark. Hope that you enjoyed watching this. Thank you. Take care everyone.